للعالمين أبو القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وبعد. ولعنة دائما على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم قيام الدين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. براءة من الله ورسوله إلا الذين عاهدتم من المشركين. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته وكل عام وأنتم بخير. Inshallah قريبا we are under the banner of Imam Al-Hajj alayhi salam, and this will be of course the real Eid, the big Eid for the Mukhasatan, for the Mu'alin of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. This verse in which I read, of course many of you are familiar with it. It's from the only surah in the Quran that doesn't start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, known as Surah Taubah, but it's actually known by its wording Bara'ah, or what we can say in English, repudiation. Meaning that's it. Between us and you, there's no more connection anymore. You go your own way and we'll go our own way. But this verse is very important. We'll look at it in several types of point forms. The first thing, the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said that whoever reads this verse, several things can happen to him. Firstly, that is not known from those who have nifaq, hypocrisy in their heart. Why? Because this surah is connected to none other than Ali bin Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen. And this person that knows the Azama and the greatness of Ali could never have any hypocrisy in his heart. That's one thing. The Holy Prophet has said also that whoever writes this surah down and puts it in his turban or in his hat, that if, God forbid, if a thief was to steal from him, he'll be safe from it. But the most important factor is that the Holy Prophet has said that whoever writes Surah Taubah and leaves it with him in his house, wears it, he said that he'll be, if for instance there was a fire in that area, there's a man from him, from his family, from the fire. But subhanallah, this is very important from here. This is something very important to understand, because when we look at the other narrations, we know the famous hadith that's narrated by everyone, doesn't matter whether you're from our school of thoughts or the other school of thoughts, that he said that لو جمع الناس على حب علي بن أبي طالب. What? Exactly. If the people were to come together on the love of Ali bin Abi Talib, there'll be no need to create fire. So the Holy Prophet has said that whoever reads this, no fire will come close to him. But of course, you know why? Because the person that brought the surah is none other than Qasimat al-Jannati wal-Nar, the person that's connected to heaven, who goes into heaven and goes into hell, God forbid, is none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen. So this is very important to understand, and we'll go into details, because a lot of people are going to ask you, for instance, everyone knows the famous story that the Holy Prophet sent Abu Bakr first with the surah, and then he sent Amir al-Mu'mineen. Now the question is, God forbid, does the Prophet make mistakes? Of course not. The Quran says, وَمَا يَنْتُكَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. The Prophet does not speak on his own accord. He only speaks of what God tells him to. Why did he send him? Why did Abu Bakr go first then? This is very, very important to understand this, because if you get asked the question from other people, you got to know how to understand it. There has to be a logic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show the Muslims, the Ummah, there's a reason I did this technique. I want to show something very important. Anyway, going back to this verse and the surah, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam says that also this person that reads, we have a narration that says Surah Al-Anfal and Surah, of course, Bara'ah are one surah. That's why there's no Bismillah. But then other narrations say, no, it is a separate surah. But Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam has said that whoever reads every month Surah Al-Anfal and Surah Al-Bara'a or Surah Taubah, once again, nifaq will not enter his heart, and he will be with Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali bin Abi Talib, on the Day of Judgment. Not just with him. The Imam says that he'll be on the table that the Imam eats from. Again, connected to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Now, the importance of this verse and this ayah. The Holy Prophet has said that many verses come down to me. As you know, the whole Quran, the walking Quran is none other than the Holy Prophet. And of course, the leading Quran after is none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen. But he said to me, when these two verses come down to the Muslims, 70,000 angels, listen to this please, very important, 70,000 angels descended down to tell the Prophet about the importance of two surah. The first one is Surah Tawheed, which is also known as Surah Al-Ikhlas. You all know it as Surah Qul Allahu Ahad. And the second one is Surah Al-Bara'a. Now, okay, once again, it's connected to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Surah Tawheed, as we know, that the Holy Prophet has said that whoever reads it once, it's like he reads the Quran a third. Whoever reads it 2 times, it's like he's read 2/3 of the Quran. Whoever reads it 3 times, as if he's read the whole of Quran. Then the Prophet has said, "Oh Ali, whoever loves you by tongue has got 1/3 of the Quran, like 1/3 of faith, afwan. Whoever loves you by his tongue and by his hand, he has completed 2/3 of the Iman. Whoever loves you, Ali, by his tongue, by his hands and by his heart, for now he's completed all of Iman, full of faith." That's the first thing. That's why the Surah Al-Ikhlas is connected to Amir al-Mu'mineen. The second one is connected to Amir al-Mu'mineen is, of course, this surah. This surah is connected as we look at, for instance, some of the ahadith. When one companion by the name of Zayd bin Baqi' comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells him, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we know that you have a lot of fada'il, a lot of, you can say, attributes, divine attributes that are given to you." He says, "We know that the Holy Prophet sent you in Dhul Hijjah, like today, subhanAllah." And this verse is connected to Hajj because, you know, when Amir al-Mu'mineen was sent, the people were in Hajj. People were doing Hajj, people were doing Tawaf, people were doing the sacrifice. So Zayd bin Baqi' tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali bin Abi Talib, he says to him, "The Holy Prophet sent you to do what in Dhul Hijjah?" He said me to tell the Muslims, or tell the people of Mecca back then, that the Holy Prophet from now on, there's 4 things that can never happen inside the Haram, inside Mecca. What are these 4 things? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, first, that only a believing soul can enter Mecca. Someone who believes in God. Secondly, this is how disgusting the Arabs were. He said to me that no more people that are naked can go around the Kaaba. And I'll explain to you why they used to go around the Kaaba naked. Third, he said no mu'min and no mushrik can be in the same place at the same time. And the fourth, he said whatever ahad the Prophet has made with other people, he'll keep it to that day. And if not, he has not made a treaty with you, you have 4 months. 4 months to make sure that you get your, as they say, act right together. So when we look at this, firstly, you got to understand that when Amir al-Mu'mineen went out there, and then, of course, Amir al-Mu'mineen reads the surah, you know, bara'atan min Allahi wa rasuli ila alladhina ahadtum to al-mushrikeen afwan. So he reads the surah to the people, but Amir al-Mu'mineen, he comes out with a sword to tell people this is come. Many times, many verses have come down with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, but the only reason that this verse did not come down with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is because it's talking to the mushrikeen. Understand this. This is very important. There is no red light. There's a red line, khat ahmar, as they say. Now we are talking to people that are polytheists, people that are doing bad things against the teachings of what the Holy Prophet and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said. So it's Amir al-Mu'mineen was asked, why didn't it start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? First, he says every surah that starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim has two types of virtues. Awwalan, the first thing is God's mercy, and second, fi aman, there's protection. But now there is no mercy and there's no protection. Not that it doesn't mean that the Muslims are very, you can say, hard towards them. No, because the Prophet, as the Quran says, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ, you were gentle towards them. But the Prophet has said to him, I'm going to give you now to think, these are my rules, and you know that you should follow them. You have time to think about these rules. That's what the Prophet said. You can imagine this. Never in history has a punishment come down to a qawm, to a people, to a tribe, except Yunus. Yunus is a different factor. They say the hadith with Yunus is that the adhab was that close to the people that they can touch it, and then all of a sudden God saw how pure they were, and He lifted the adhab off. He took it off. But never ever, when God brings down a punishment to people, He doesn't say to them, Mathal, He doesn't say to them, Khalash, I'm going to punish you. And then in the middle, imagine in the times of Nuh, the flood's going to come, but you have 4 months, 4 months to get it right. And it doesn't happen. Or when it came to Had or Thamud, these tribes that God destroyed, He doesn't give them time. But the Holy Prophet gave them time to think about what you're doing, and that's enough. So the question is, why this verse came down is because I mentioned it before, is that the Arabs, when they used to go to Mecca, and of course this surah came down in 8 AH, very important to understand now what I'm going to talk about in history. 8 AH, after the Fatah of Mecca came down, because the surah came down in 9 AH. So when the Prophet said, for nearly 1 year, the Prophet said to the people, you can still act the way you act. Go to the Mecca. And people say, but hold on a sec. There were things there that, that it weren't good, that were against Islamic teachings. But slowly, the Prophet had to give them time to think and give them time to come back to the right path. You say in history, has this ever happened before? Yes. How long did it take the Holy Prophet to pure the Muslims from khamar? Do anyone know? It didn't happen overnight. According to our narration, Ahlul Bayt, it took between 8 to 10 years for the Prophet to completely purify the Arabs from khamar, from alcohol, from anything like that. It wasn't a one-step process. Because the Prophet wanted to show him step by step, First of all, he tells them that, that this is bad, and there's some benefit. There's some benefit for the people that sell it. That's not benefit, but they saw it as benefit. Then he tells them, don't come to the prayer when you're in a state intoxicated. And then in the end, the Prophet said to him, after so many years to pure, because they couldn't let go of it straight away. He says to them that this is khalas, is rijis. It's something disgusting, min amal shaitan. Leave it, fashtanibu. Don't touch it. So the reason the Prophet gave them time to think about is maybe they'll change. But they didn't. So they would come to Mecca. And when you come to Mecca, Arabs had a tradition that when you go around the Kaaba, that you circulate around the Kaaba, that the clothes that you wear, you can't wear it anymore. This is them. So you had two choices. You bring some clothes with you, and the clothes that you do the Kaaba around the Kaaba, you take it off and put the new clothes on. Other people can't afford it, so they used to go and buy clothes from people, put it on, and then then throw that clothes and put the other clothes back on. Other people used to rent clothes and then give it back. But remember, we said that if you do tawaf around the Kaaba, you can't wear the same clothes. Some people couldn't afford it, so they used to do tawaf, take off the clothes, and say they want to do tawaf again, they would do it naked. Naked. So what happened was, This is very upsetting to the Muslims. So now the ayah comes down. Go, the Holy Prophet goes and tells, we'll look at two sides of this. We look at Ibn Abbas's hadith first, which is also mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Ahmad ibn Hanbal. They all mention this same hadith. It's similar. The words might be different, but they say, firstly, Abu Bakr was sent with the verse. He got to a place called the Juhfa, and then the wahi come down. They say this as well, that Jibreel came down, told the Prophet that no, that only someone from you or someone from yourself can convey this message. Anyway, Ibn Abbas says that he went, Amir al-Mu'mineen went to Al-Abbas, and he said to him, went to Abu Bakr, he said, give me the verse, I have to go. Abu Bakr, this is what Ibn Abbas says. Abu Bakr says that he went back to the Prophet and he said, has a revelation came to me? Has a revelation came to me? He says, no. It came to me, the Jibreel told me that it has to be someone from me or from my family. Or in another narration, it says, Rajul Mink. So it has to be someone from you, close to you. So now the question is, what we asked at the start, why did the Prophet send Abu Bakr first? This is very important here. You have to understand this. If you look back in history, everyone agrees that the warrior, the batal, the brave knight of every single battle was none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen. But I need you to focus. This is very important to answer why this was done in this manner. Okay. Firstly, we know the Battle of Badr happened in 2 AH. Okay. The one that killed, out of the 70 people, 35 were killed by none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. So he killed most of the mushrikeen and their fathers, brothers, whatever. Okay. After that, you had the Battle of Khandaq. Now, Uhud is different. I'm just trying to get the main beats, because Uhud, we can say that for Uhud, a lot of the Muslims ran away and Amir al-Mu'mineen stayed, yes, but I need to focus on the battles that Amir al-Mu'mineen on both sides saw the bravery of him. So in 5 AH, there was a battle of Al-Ahzab or Khandaq. Okay. The Prophet, did he give someone a choice to go first against Amr? Did he give a choice? Yes. How many choices did he give? According to the narrations, 3 times. He asked people 3 times. No one came up except Amir al-Mu'mineen every single time. Okay? So, and then he says those famous words, خَرَجَ الْإِيمَانِ كُلُّهُ, that all of faith has gone now against all of shirk, polytheism. Okay. Now, after that, in 7 AH, was the Battle of Khaybar. Again, according to history, how many people went first to bring down the castle? The first person went, he came back. Second one went, he came back. Then, of course, God says that tomorrow I'm going to give the rai, the banner, to someone that God loves and the Prophet loves, and he loves God and the Prophet. This is a ma'ruf, this, okay? Why I said this is because when people say, why did the Holy Prophet send Abu Bakr? The Prophet knows the mind of the people. He knows how they think. In future, like today, they would have, if Muslims said, Abu Bakr should have been the rightful leader, and Imam Ali alayhi salam was better than him in the battles. So what they'll say, they can say that Imam Ali alayhi salam was only good in fighting. That's what they'll say. Even though he was brave, they'll say this. So they can say that a Muslim does a Muslim have to be brave? Doesn't have to be brave. The leader has to be brave, but a Muslim doesn't have to be brave. So they can use this against us. That's what they'll say. Other schools will say against it. But hold on a sec. The Prophet wanted us to do something very important here. Firstly, in the Fatah of Mecca, the famous story when the Prophet went into Mecca and the idols, and the big idol was on top. The question here was, could the Holy Prophet not went up to the Kaaba and bring the idol down? Could he not? Very simple. Why did the Holy Prophet, you're the Prophet, you're God's best creation, you're the Qa'id, the general of the army. The general of the army should bring the idol down. Why did he say bring me Ali? What's Ali got to do with it now? Say the Prophet wanted to show something. He wanted to lift Ali up, because you know the hadith says that the Imam Ali alayhi salam was first embarrassed. Ya Rasulullah, I should lift you up. But he says the thiql, the weight of Nabuwah, I couldn't lift him up. He says, but when the Holy Prophet lifted me up, he says, as if I touched the heavens. Yeah. And then, so the Prophet was given a symbol here. He was saying a symbol that when it comes to the destroyment of shirk, my wasi, my khalif, the person that God has appointed, because you know that I don't do anything for myself, he's the one that should bring down the shirk. So this story is very similar now to the story that we know now. The Holy Prophet knew that the mushrikeen and all the Arabs, they had very close ties to Abu Bakr. He had very good ties, good business with them before. This is known in history. Now, so the Muslims, the way they thought that, you know, that Abu Bakr was close to the Prophet. But the Prophet wanted to show the people that, this closeness means nothing, because the closeness to God Almighty is more important. So to show you how this is, so the Muslims can't do anything and say, hold on a sec, why did he do this? Why did he send him? And then he sent Amir al-Mu'mineen. The Prophet wanted to show you that what you are thinking, there you go. I sent your person. I sent him. But Jibreel has told me no. Someone has to come down that is divinely connected to God to send and give these people, the mushrikeen, the ayah. This is show. So no more people can say Ali bin Abi Talib was very strong. But the Prophet say, yes, he was strong, but he was also connected to God Almighty. Now, you can imagine this. A general now is saying to the people, tomorrow, I'm going to give you someone that is going to give you a very important message. He gathers all the Muslims, all the people. Think about this. He sends him to walk down, to give to the people. He says, hold on, I said, come back here. Come back and sit here. Okay, someone say, you go now and give the message. What does that make you think now? Doesn't it make you think that, hold on a sec, this person's not important? It doesn't make, you're supposed to give a surah, something very important. And also, the story was linked to show you the greatness of Ali bin Abi Talib to that of Musa and Harun. Because when God says to Musa, "Idhab ila Fir'aun," go to Fir'aun, Musa tells him, Ya Allah, that I'm scared. I'm scared. Rabbi yashrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani. Oh God, make my chest expand, make me speak properly so that I can go to him. And then send Harun with me. Why, Ya Musa? Because I killed one of them. I killed one of the people that, that followed Fir'aun. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam, was the killer of all the mushrikeen. How many mushrikeen did Ali bin Abi Talib kill in history? Yet, he goes by himself. Did he ask Rasulullah, send an army with me? Did he tell Rasulullah, send someone with me? Amir al-Mu'mineen goes to Mecca himself, stands there with his sword, and he tells them, from now on, the Holy Prophet has said that only a believer must pray here. No more tawaf naked. No more, for this is the last year that the mushrikeen can come to Mecca. And lastly, if there's any ahd, treaty with the Holy Prophet, the Prophet will keep it. So this is to show you again that when it came to the greatness of Ali bin Abi Talib, the Prophet wanted to show you that there's a divine connection here. And this connection can happen as well when we talk about, for instance, they say, okay, but the Prophet, has he done this before? Has he like was moving in one direction and then he changed in another direction straight away because God has told him, I want to show you that whatever you are happy with, Ya Rasulullah, also means what is God is happy with. I'll give you an example. When the Muslims used to pray, what direction they used to pray in? Masjid they used to pray towards Jerusalem, Bethlehem. So you can imagine this. The Holy Prophet is praying. The hadith says by Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq and Imam Muhammad al-Bakr, they both say this hadith, that the Prophet was praying towards Bayt al-Maqdis. The ayah comes down for him to turn towards Mecca. Now, the hadith says majority of the Muslims, they moved towards the Prophet. The Prophet went forward and he turned towards Mecca. The Muslims followed. Other people didn't follow him. They didn't follow him. So what happened was, when this happened, this was a change to say that even though the Christians, even though the Jews were mocking the Prophet, because they said to the Prophet, look at, you're praying in the same direction as we're praying. So God says to them, no. We feel what's in the heart of the Holy Prophet. We're going to give him a qibla that you are happy with, that you are content with, Ya Rasulullah, and he gives him Mecca. The same thing with Surah Al-Bara'ah. When people need to see a change, to see the importance of it, the Prophet said this. That's why he sent Abu Bakr first, because he knew, just like the Christians and the Jews were talking behind, they were talking behind the back of the Holy Prophet, Muslims were talking about, that this person should be the next Khalif. The Prophet said to him, no. I'll show you who's going to be the next Khalif. So that's why he sent Abu Bakr first. And then, just like Masjid al-Qiblatayn, the ayah comes down and says, Ya Rasulullah, now was the time to show the people who the real leader is. Do you understand now? So when people ask you, this is a azama, this is a greatness to Ali bin Abi Talib. To show you, when you think about this, everything is done because the Holy Prophet said in the future, Muslims will say, yes, Ali bin Abi Talib was strong. But that doesn't mean that he was the leader. Then you can show him in your books, in our books, that the Prophet deliberately did this to show you that that leader of yours is not connected. Because in your book and our books, they said that the Prophet said that the person has to be someone from me, has to be someone or me, or someone from me, or like me. So he sends, of course, Ali bin Abi Talib. So the factor is, what this was telling the people is that nur that you are following, the nur that you're following, Holy Prophet, the same nur exists in Ali bin Abi Talib. I explain this very important. This is very important to understand this, that the same nur. Because you understand that the Holy Prophet has said, Ana wa aliyun min shajaratan wahid. Everyone knows this. But then in another hadith he says, Ana wa aliyun min nur wahid. He goes, we are, me and Ali are the same light. So that same light has this factor that it contains the light of Nubuwah. It contains the light of Imamah. It contains that light that's connected to God Almighty. He's saying that this light can never first be split. It only was given to the other Imams. Because this light, because light has to be passed on through, like you can say, a prison, in order for it to to disperse. You know, to understand this, it sounds a bit confusing, just quickly. Light. If I want to split the light now, I split the light. How do I split light? The light that we see now, light, if I want to split it into other lights, you need to do something. There's for instance, if I ask you a question, how do you get a rainbow? The rainbow is split. It's a result is because the light goes through the water. Water is purity. Inside the water is what? Water is made up from two things. Hydrogen, oxygen, yeah? Okay. Now, to show you that the nur of Ahl al-Bayt is everlasting, when that nur, the light of the Holy Prophet and the light of Ali and Fatima, alayhi salam, goes through a prism. That prism is got two things in it. Our prison is none other than the Quran. Water has two things. The prison has two things here. The prison has Quran and Ahl al-Bayt. Okay? When you shoot the light through it, you get other lights. Because you need this. This is the only prison that does this. The other lights, of course, are the lights of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So in other words, what the Prophet is telling him and telling the Muslims, in order that you have purity, if you don't hold on to the Quran, if you don't hold on to Ahlul Bayt, that light of mine will never have any benefit, you won't benefit from it. Because the prison is the heart of the believer. So when we look at this, we'll find that when the surah came down, it came to reveal and to expose the thoughts of those people. So in the future, no one can come up and say that the Prophet made a mistake. No, the Prophet never made a mistake. The Prophet deliberately did this because you were thinking of what leader you wanted to put in front. Even he, like I said, he has said several times, he came and asked the Prophet, was there anything revealed upon me? And the Prophet said, no, this has to be done. God ordained me. Just like that other mal'un, when Harith ibn Nu'man, after the Holy Prophet ordained Ali ibn Abi Talib in Eid al-Ghadir, he says that you told us to pray, we prayed. You told us to fast, we fast. You told us to do Hajj, we went Hajj. He says out of all the people, you didn't find except Ali ibn Abi Talib to find as a leader. He says, فَهَذَا مِنْكَ or min Allah. So now, same thing. Maybe there's the punishment was that, but Abu Bakr asked the same question. Is this where did this come from? The Prophet had to tell him, and the same thing happened with the Harith ibn Nu'man. He asked the Prophet, is this from you or from God? The Prophet said, it's from God. God tells me. I don't do anything out of my own accord. He said, but the mal'un said, what? In kana hadha min handak, if it's hadha from God, sorry, فَأُسْقِطْ عَلَيْنَا حَجْرًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ, So then the verse came down, سَأَلَ سَائِلْ بِعَذَابِ الْوَاقِبِ. So the verse comes down that this person asks for punishment and he gets killed. Now to sum everything up, the importance of this, if you look at the calendar, as we said before, that the verse of Bara'ah, or the ayah of the Surah Al-Bara'ah came in 9 AH. In 10 AH was the Eid al-Ghadir. It was the farewell pilgrimage of the Holy Prophet. Now, if you look at everything that I talked about today, from 2 AH, even if you want to add Uhud, but I'm talking about all the ones, all the evidence that the Holy Prophet gave to the Muslims, even when it came to lifting up the hand of Ali ibn Abi Talib on the day of Ghadir, all this was physical. All of it was physical. But one particular verse to show you how Ali bin Abi Talib is connected to the Quran is that of Bara'ah. And even the surah itself, if you break down the surah, Surah Taubah, many verses in the surah are all connected to Ahl al-Bayt, especially the last, towards the end of it, the Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu wattaqullaha kunu ma'al sadiqin. This verse, if you understand this, you got to have taqwa, if you got to have belief and to be with the sadiqin. The Ahl al-Bayt, even Ibn Abbas, even Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari, all of them agree that the Sadiqeen is none other than Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of Imam Al-Hujjah alayhi salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala la tukhrajna min hadhihi ad-dunya hatta tarda anna. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ziyarah of Ahl al-Bayt fil dunya wa shafa'atun fil akhirah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He does not take us out of this world except that He is pleased with us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us always on the Eid, the big Eid, and that is the Eid of always staying on the wali of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on our loved ones. Hadi wa akhir da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen wa ila arwah al-mu'mineen wal-mu'minat خاصة من مات على ولية أمير المؤمنين رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلاة على محمد.